Okay, let's unpack this dramatic sequence. We're about to embark on a deep dive into a specific, incredibly intense night in the life of Dmitry Karamazov.
Hmm.
We're drawing all our insights from some really rich source material we've received specifically, excerpts from a detailed analysis of Part 17 of Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov.
That's right.
Our mission here is to take this raw analysis and really explore the volatile character of Dmitri, dissect the intense human drama packed into just a few hours,
Yeah.
and understand the layers of passion, desperation, and ultimately harsh consequence that this source material reveals.
What's fascinating here, as the source immediately makes clear, is the sheer psychological intensity captured in this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just plot moving forward.
Yeah.
It's a portrayal of a mind, and maybe even a body, pushed to their absolute limits, where emotions aren't just felt, they're experienced with this kind of feverish extremity.
Absolutely. And the scene that kicks this off, as described in the source, it's instantly cinematic, isn't it? Carriage tearing through the dark night.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Carrying Dmitri, who is clearly in an almost delirious state. He's completely consumed by this burning singular purpose. Find Grushenka.
Find Grushenka, who he's convinced, absolutely convinced, is with her Polish lover at some guest house miles away.
And the goal for you, as the listener joining us on this deep dive, is to journey through the dramatic events of this single night, to truly grasp Dmitri's incredibly unstable state of mind as detailed in the source, to follow the surprising twists and turns the source highlights, and ultimately to confront the sudden, life-altering conclusion that brings this particular sequence to, well, a crashing halt.
So, yeah, get ready. This is going to be quite a ride, moving from that deep internal torment to very external chaos in just a matter of hours.
The source material wastes no time plunging us into Dmitri's state of mind during this frantic journey. It's described as one of extreme anger, a kind of emotional boiling point.
Yeah, the source uses that term ubal, doesn't it? Which I think perfectly encapsulates that sense of a liquid just vigorously boiling.
Okay.
A seething emotion just beneath the surface, totally ready to erupt. He's in this state of furious internal ferment.
Yes, that term ubal is so precise. It's not just anger, it's this agitation, this roiling turmoil inside him. The source emphasizes that this isn't, a calm, rational journey.
Not at all. His mind is racing, caught in this sort of maelstrom of conflicting thoughts and impulses. It's chaos.
And the internal conflict he's experiencing, the source describes it as absolutely wild, swinging violently from one extreme to the other.
Wild is the word.
We learn he's carrying a pistol with him. So in one moment, he's contemplating suicide, right? Thinking about shooting himself or maybe jumping into the river they pass by.
And it's not just inward. His thoughts are also about harming Grushenka or her lover. The violence is swirling outwards and inwards at the same time. It's really quite terrifying.
That detail about the pistol and the active suicidal thoughts is profoundly important, isn't it? It's not just a vague feeling of despair.
No. It's concrete consideration of ending lives,
Yeah.
including his own. This single detail tells you just how far gone he is in this moment, how desperate and unstable he feels.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the source highlights this incredible, almost unbelievable contradiction.
Right.
One moment, he's in this dark place, consumed by rage and suicidal thoughts, ready for destruction. The very next moment, he has this sudden, complete shift in perspective. He declares he'll actually get out of the way for Grushenka and her lover.
Yeah, he doesn't want to intrude. He only wants a final farewell, a last goodbye to her, maybe even ask for her blessing or something. It's bizarre.
It's such a rapid oscillation, isn't it? Between wanting to destroy everything, including himself, and then wanting to be self-sacrificing for her happiness.
And that, as the source points out, is a key indicator of his delirious mental state. The source uses that word delirious, which suggests a mind that is not operating with clear reason or logic at all.
It's almost feverish, just jumping wildly between completely contradictory impulses without any apparent bridge or rationale connecting them. For you listening to this, it's vital to recognize that he's not thinking clearly, not even close.
Exactly. He's barely in control of his own thoughts, and he seems almost aware of it on some level. The source mentions him talking to the driver, almost rambling.
Yeah, questioning himself out loud.
Are you listening to me? Am I just spouting nonsense? It's like he's a passenger in his own head, just witnessing his thoughts tumble out without being able to direct them.
And the state raises an important question, one the source analysis implicitly poses for us. Is this truly love that is driving him?
Or something else entirely.
Or is it a destructive obsession, perhaps masked by this kind of self-pity and wildly dramatic posturing? If we connect this to the big picture of Dimitri's character, as the source analysis allows us to do.
We see that this journey really encapsulates the core of his internal struggle.
Yeah.
A desperate, almost childlike need for validation and love, clashing constantly with his own incredibly volatile nature and inability to control his passions.
And within this turmoil, he's just flooded with self-loathing. The source depicts him repeatedly questioning himself, asking, what am I? Who am I? Am I just a worm?
It's brutal.
He's not just feeling bad, he's actively questioning his very existence and worthiness, wondering who he is to even dare to come between Grushenka and her presumed lover.
He sees himself as utterly insignificant, a worm unworthy of love or happiness.
Oh.
Which, paradoxically, seems to fuel both his destructive impulses and those sudden dramatic shifts towards wanting to sacrifice himself for her. It's a really complex knot of feelings.
The depth of this self-deprecation is quite profound, isn't it? It's not just humility.
No, it's a genuine, painful sense of worthlessness that makes his emotional swings all the more extreme. I mean, if he believes he is nothing, then what does it matter what he does? Whether he harms others or himself, or even gives up his own desires, it kind of frees him up to be completely erratic.
And adding to this fever pitch on the journey is his sheer impatience. He's demanding, practically screaming at the driver to go faster, promising extra money, any amount, just move.
And the driver's reaction, as the source describes it, is quite telling. He's usually portrayed as talkative, maybe even a bit gossipy, right?
Yeah.
But here, he's reduced to fear and silence. He's intimidated by Dimitri's obviously dangerous mood, yes, but also specifically by his known powerful physique.
Right. The source explicitly highlights that combination Dimitri's hot temper and very strong body as a particularly dangerous mix.
Exactly. His physical capability amplifies the threat inherent in his emotional instability. It makes his internal chaos a real external danger to those around him.
The source even uses this really effective analogy here, comparing the horse carriage to a train. Dimitri wants the speed and urgency of a train, hurtling towards his destination without delay.
But he's stuck in the slower, more constrained reality of the carriage. His internal frantic pace is completely out of sync with the physical journey, which must just add to his frustration and heighten that sense of feverish impatience.
It perfectly illustrates that disconnect between his internal world and external reality, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He's mentally already there, ready for the confrontation or the dramatic farewell, whatever it's going to be. But the physical world is lagging behind, constrained by horses and roads.
So this frantic, psychologically charged journey takes them quite a distance. Through the night, they eventually arrive at a large town relatively late, around 11 or 11:30 p.m.
And there's this moment, as they approach, of palpable anxiety for Dimitri. Would they be awake? Would he have missed them? Would they be sleeping peacefully while he's in this state of torment?
But then he sees a crucial detail from the source the light at the guest house. That visible sign confirms for him that they are awake, that the scene is set, and that the intense drama he's been anticipating, the climax of his journey, is about to unfold. The light isn't just illumination, it's confirmation, a signal to his agitated mind.
Yeah, the stage is set.
And when they finally arrive at the guest house, it's certainly not a subtle, quiet entry, is it? The source describes Dimitri's arrival as grand.
Even using the metaphor of a great warrior arriving, it's quite something.
Yes, it's meant to be impactful. The carriage stops with this specific, heavy sound effect described in the source. Damn them, this distinct, heavy thudding.
Right, making it instantly clear to anyone inside or nearby that someone of significance, someone with force, has arrived. And the guest house owner, alerted by this, immediately comes out, recognizing Dimitri with what the source notes is apparent happiness.
And the source quickly explains why the owner would be so happy to see a man arriving in such a state late at night. It's tied directly to Dimitri's past behavior.
Specifically, his notoriously extravagant spending habits when he actually has money.
This characteristic, highlighted by the source, tells us so much about Dimitri's relationship with wealth, or rather his lack of a relationship with it.
Totally. He exists in financial extremes. Sometimes having absolutely no money whatsoever, completely broke. And at other times, when he does have funds, spending with incredible recklessness, acting as if the world might end tomorrow and money has no future value, just throwing it away.
The source gives specific, memorable examples of this past behavior at this very guest house. He'd been there before with Grushenka, and the source notes spent Huge, huge amounts.
Huge amounts. Hiring local entertainers, the source specifically mentions gypsies, men and women, dancers and singers, and just throwing money around wildly, describing it like at a wedding.
And the source provides a crucial quantification and context for this past spending. 3,000 rubles.
Which is already a lot back then.
Exactly. And then it immediately gives us the equivalent value in today's money, stating this amount was roughly equal to 3 million rubles today.
3 million rubles spent in a single night at this guest house. I mean, that amount is staggering, particularly in that era.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
Exactly. So put yourself in the guest house owner's shoes.
Yeah.
A customer who, in a single night, dropped the equivalent of 3 million rubles in today's currency, hiring a full troupe of entertainers, and literally throwing money around.
You'd remember that guy.
You would absolutely remember that individual. You would absolutely welcome back a customer like that, regardless of the hour or his agitated state. His past recklessness is the reason for his grand welcome now.
So, despite the turmoil of his journey, Dmitri, upon arrival, immediately starts shaping the present moment. He asks about Grushenka and then instantly demands that the owner arrange for those entertainers again.
Recreating that past scene of lavish revelry right away.
And he seals this demand with action. He gives the owner money up front. The source notes the owner's surprise at this generosity, even questioning why he's being so reckless, why he's throwing money around.
But Dmitri just dismisses his concern, doesn't he? Tells him just to arrange the party, the celebration, forget the cost.
He even mentions that he had pre-ordered champagne and food, a detail that adds another layer.
Yeah, that's interesting. It suggests that despite the seemingly spontaneous nature of his frantic journey in the carriage, there was some underlying level of prior planning for this potential outcome.
Right.
This grand, desperate celebration. Should you find Grushenka there? It's a strange mix of impulsive reaction and calculated preparation. He's volatile, but there's a kind of method to his madness, a desperate desire to create a specific reality for himself.
And then comes that chilling, ominous declaration to the owner. He tells him, "Tonight will be a celebration," and follows it with the deeply foreboding words, "This is my last night."
Oof. That line, placed in the context of his earlier suicidal thoughts and desperate state, definitely sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it?
It really does.
It just hangs in the air, adding this dark undertone to the impending celebration. Is it metaphorical, referring to the end of an era, or is he hinting at something more literal?
So Dmitri makes his way inside the guest house, and the source describes the scene he finds. It's a large room, described as being like a living room where the occupants are gathered.
And they are indeed the people he came to find, plus a few others who become significant. Grushenka is there, and her Polish officer is present, lounging on a sofa, as well as his bodyguard. And interestingly, the source notes there are 2 other Russian men whom Dmitri actually knows already present.
Dmitri's entry into this room is described as causing an immediate reaction in Grushenka. The source says she gets scared seeing him appear there.
She fears he's come to cause trouble, predicting a fight or some kind of scene. That initial reaction from her speaks volumes about their turbulent history.
Absolutely.
And her expectation of conflict whenever Dmitri is involved, especially in a situation like this. She anticipates violence from him.
But Dmitri's demeanor, as the source presents it, is totally unexpected, isn't it? Particularly after the frantic, rage-filled journey we just heard about.
Completely unexpected. He enters smiling, putting on this show of being a casual, friendly visitor.
Yeah, asking if he can join their private party. He claims he's only there for one night, wanting to talk and enjoy the party with them, not cause a disturbance.
He's actively trying to control the narrative, isn't he? To insert himself into their world by appearing amiable and non-threatening, a stark contrast to the great warrior arriving or the seating man in the carriage.
The initial interaction is naturally a bit tense and awkward, as you might imagine. The Polish officer gives him a polite but firm dismissal.
Basically, get lost.
Right, stating it's a private party and suggesting Dmitri find another one elsewhere. He adds that they don't know him.
This highlights the officer's sense of entitlement and his desire for exclusivity with Grushenka. He's trying to maintain control of the social space.
But then Grushenka herself intervenes, contradicting the officer and affirming clearly that she knows him.
Which is crucial.
And crucially, the 2 Russian men who are already there also confirm knowing Dmitri and, perhaps surprisingly, invite him to join the party, legitimizing his presence.
Their confirmation seems to be enough for the Polish officer. He then acquiesces, thinking, well, they must indeed know this seemingly respectable man who just smiled and asked to join.
So Dmitri is accepted, And he sits down, observing the scene. He's successfully inserted himself into the room.
And the source material describes Dmitri sitting there watching Grushenka, and his emotional state becomes incredibly clear, following that contradictory pattern we highlighted from his journey.
Right. When she was absent, as he was speeding towards her, he was full of vicious criticism towards her, wasn't he? Accusing her of deceit, wasting his money, betraying him.
Seeing her as the source of all his suffering, yeah.
But the moment she is present, in front of him in this room, the source says he melts like butter. It's described as a complete and instant transformation.
It really is. He becomes utterly submissive in her presence, appearing, as the source vividly puts it, ready to fall at her feet, even ready to kiss her feet.
Wow.
He's no longer the raging, accusatory figure. He's begging her, pleading with her not to leave him, asking her to keep him with her, even if just as a humble servant.
This isn't a balanced or healthy expression of love, is it? The source analysis suggests it's an all-consuming, desperate need that utterly strips him of his usual bravado.
Yeah, his physical power seems forgotten in this moment of emotional prostration. He is completely undone, completely vulnerable by her presence and the desperate hope of her affection.
This stark contrast in his behavior, the raging lion in her absence, the melting lamb in her presence, reveals the profound depth of his emotional dependency on her approval and affection, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a desperate, almost pathetic vulnerability that exists beneath the bluster and the physical strength. He needs her validation more than anything. It
Right.
seems to be the core driver for him.
And this intense vulnerability leads to an incredible, almost shocking public moment. While sitting there watching Grushenka, perhaps overwhelmed by the reality of being near her, there's a sudden, uncontrollable emotional outburst.
Yes, the source details this vividly. He turns his back to the table and the others present, maybe trying to hide his face initially.
Maybe. He sits backwards on the table, his back to the group, and starts to cry.
But crucially, not quietly. The source emphasizes he is crying loudly, describing him as crying like a child, weeping profusely.
It must have been shocking for everyone there.
Absolutely. It's a shocking display for anyone to witness, let alone from a man described as physically powerful, someone who moments before was contemplating violence and putting on a brave face.
Yeah.
To see him break down and cry like a child in front of these relative strangers and the woman he desperately wants to impress, it just underscores the intensity of his emotional turmoil and his inability to contain it any longer. It's a raw, undiluted expression of his pain and desperation.
Grushenka's response to this unexpected public display is also very significant, as the source highlights. She gets up from the table, goes over to him.
Puts her hand gently on his shoulder and speaks to him softly. Her words are comforting. "Don't cry like this," she says. "It's okay, Dmitri, it's okay."
She's trying to soothe him, isn't she? To pull him back from the brink of this emotional collapse.
Yes, and then she turns to the others present, trying to explain away his behavior. The source notes she tells them this has happened before and she has tried to reason with him, reassuring them that he'll be fine, that this is just, well, how he is sometimes.
It's interesting, in that moment, despite his embarrassing public display of vulnerability, she is essentially protecting his image, isn't she?
She is. She's trying to normalize his extreme reaction for the benefit of the others in the room, trying to salvage some dignity for him. It perhaps reveals a complex mix of, exasperation and affection for him.
While Dmitri is regaining some semblance of composure, the group in the main room, maybe trying to ignore the emotional drama, decides to start playing cards. The source specifically mentions the game Sata.
Yeah, they turn to cards to fill the awkward silence, or perhaps just to resume the private party, Dmitri interrupted. And you see Dmitri's recklessness with money immediately reappear,
Right back at it.
reinforcing the point we made earlier about his extreme spending when he has funds. A behavior pattern the source analysis connects directly to his emotional state and his need for validation. Notes are literally falling out of his pockets, and he doesn't seem to care about the lost money at all.
He's completely focused on the present moment, fueled by that earlier ominous declaration. He keeps repeating that today is the night, that he doesn't know or care about tomorrow.
His sole focus is to let me live tonight, to wring every drop of experience from this moment with Grushenka nearby. Just live for now.
And the source adds a crucial heavy layer here.
Yeah.
He has the 3,000 rubles on him, the very money he acquired under questionable circumstances.
The money he confessed to having stole, or at least desperately needing to pay Katerina.
Exactly. This adds a sense of consequence, guilt, and profound desperation to his spending. He's literally gambling and throwing away money he committed a crime to obtain, money meant for something else entirely.
Just to perpetuate this one night of fleeting pleasure and proximity to Grushenka, the stakes of this card game for him are far higher than just the rubles on the table. It's everything.
The card game takes a sharp turn when, after Dmitri loses some money, the two Russian men he knows and who invited him to join inform him, discreetly, that the others, specifically the Polish officer and possibly the bodyguard, cheated.
Ah, the plot thickens. They are specific about how. They used different cards, manipulated the deck, rigged the game. This accusation of dishonesty from the men he knows gives Dmitri a new point of focus.
Yeah, it shifts his attention.
Shifting his attention from his own emotional turmoil to the integrity of the people Grushenka is with.
This cheating accusation provides Dmitri with a pretext, or perhaps genuine outrage, to confront the Polish officer directly. He asks to talk to him, separate from the group.
And the source notes that Dmitri suggests they move to another room. And interestingly, he even invites the bodyguard to come along.
Which is strange.
It is strange, apparently to alleviate any potential fear the officer might have of being alone with Dmitri. Is he trying to appear fair? Or is it a subtle power play, demonstrating that he's not afraid of the officer, even with his protector present? The source doesn't specify his motivation here, but it adds to the complex dynamic.
In this other room, Dmitri gets straight to the point, laying out his offer to the Polish officer. 3,000 rubles in exchange for the officer leaving immediately and forgetting Grushenka forever.
It's the same 3,000 rubles that is causing Dmitri so much anguish, the money he desperately needs or has acquired dubiously. He's using this tainted money as currency to buy Grushenka's freedom from this relationship, to clear the path for himself. The source analysis points out the irony and desperation of this move.
But there's a significant catch to Dmitri's offer, one that immediately undermines it. He admits he only has 700 rubles cash right now.
Not the full amount.
No. He promises the remaining 3,000 rubles, which, given the previous mention of 3,000 rubles being the stolen amount, is slightly confusing in the source's analysis, but the point is he doesn't have the full cash amount now, only 700.
Right. The details are a bit murky, but the core issue is he can't pay up front.
Exactly. He promises the rest by tomorrow, once the officer is safely back in Poland. He tries to lend credibility to his promise, saying, "I'm a man of words."
Which, given his track record, might not be very convincing. The Polish officer, perhaps insulted by the partial cash offer or genuinely uninterested, refuses the offer outright.
So the negotiation fails, and they return to the main room where the party is still ongoing.
And this is when the tension in the main room, already present, really ignites into a full-blown confrontation. The cheating accusation is repeated or confirmed in the main room among the group.
And the Polish officer, cornered by the cheating accusation and perhaps angry about Dmitri's attempted bribe, retaliates by bringing up Dmitri's offer but framing it negatively.
Yeah, he accuses Dmitri of trying to buy him off, of attempting to sell Grushenka.
Ouch. That accusation that Dmitri was trying to sell her hits Grushenka hard, as described in the source. Her reaction is immediate and filled with outrage.
She turns on Dmitri, confronting him directly, asking, "You were selling me, Dmitri. You were selling me." This is a pivotal moment. Her affection or tolerance for him is instantly threatened by the idea that he would treat her like a commodity.
Even if his intention was to buy her for himself, it's the framing.
Exactly.
Dmitri, now on multiple fronts, the cheating accusation and Grushenka's outrage, is completely on the defensive. He argues back fiercely. He insists the others cheated in the game, doubling down on that accusation.
And he claims his offer to the officer was made out of deep love for Grushenka, not disrespect. He argues that the Polish officer would have absolutely taken the money if he'd had the full cash amount available right there.
Trying to paint the officer as the mercenary one.
Right, asserting that the officer only cares about money, not Grushenka herself, contrasting it with his own purported pure motives. It's a chaotic attempt to salvage his image and win Grushenka back in the eyes of everyone present, including her.
And the argument quickly escalates beyond just words, pulling in the Polish officer, his bodyguard, and Dmitri in a heated exchange.
Which leads directly to physical action.
The verbal argument quickly moves towards a more physical assertion of power by Dmitri.
Yes, the source describes Dmitri getting particularly angry with the bodyguard for speaking up or involving himself in the argument. He just snaps.
And then comes a moment that vividly demonstrates Dmitri's raw physical capability, that very strong body mentioned earlier.
It's quite dramatic. The source describes Dmitri literally picking up the bodyguard, who is presumably a grown man.
Yeah, not a small feat.
And carrying him or forcing him into the other room, and locking him in, just like that.
This is a critical turning point in the physical dynamic of the scene, isn't it? It's Dmitri reclaiming control of the space.
Not through argument or manipulation, but through pure, overwhelming physical dominance. He eliminates one threat decisively with brute force.
Having dealt with the bodyguard, Dmitri turns to the Polish officer and gives him a simple, direct command. Go into that room with the bodyguard and stay there quietly.
And the officer's reaction, as described in the source, is incredibly telling. His swagger disappears. The source uses the evocative phrase "hava nikal jati hai," implying his confidence, his air of superiority, is completely deflated.
All gone.
He recognizes Dmitri's superior physical power immediately after seeing him handle bodyguards so easily. Faced with that reality, the officer quietly complies, his bravado evaporating, and joins his bodyguard in the locked room. No argument.
With the potential rivals confined, Dmitri turns back to Grushenka, the object of all this turmoil, and makes a powerful declaration to her alone in the main room. You are mine now.
And in a truly pivotal moment of reversal, especially considering her initial fear of him and his earlier submissive pleas.
Yeah, it's a complete flip.
Grushenka affirms his declaration. The source notes, she responds simply but surely, "Yes, I am yours." She states that she was crazy for that useless man, the Polish officer, driven by some past emotion. But now she knows, here and now, that she belongs to Dmitri.
Dmitri is, understandably, overjoyed by her acceptance. His desperate gamble, his turbulent journey, his emotional breakdown, his physical assertion, it all culminates in this moment of perceived victory.
So he immediately tells the guest house owner to bring everyone in, meaning all the hired entertainers he had arranged earlier. Let the real party begin now.
And the party resumes, but now with renewed intensity, fueled by Dmitri's elation.
Yeah.
There's music, dancing, drinking.
And Dmitri is back to his lavish, reckless spending, throwing money around, shouting, take money,
Yeah.
to the entertainers and staff. Just pure abandon.
He reiterates his focus on living entirely in the moment, fueled by his earlier declarations and perhaps a desperate desire to make this night last forever. Today is the night, he says again.
I don't know what will happen tomorrow. His earlier ominous note resurfacing. Let me live tonight.
This phase of the night is a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil and confrontation that preceded it, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a desperate, almost manic celebration of his perceived victory in winning Grushenka's affection and banishing his rival. It's loud, chaotic, and underscored by the knowledge that he's spending money acquired under duress.
Right. That's stolen money.
Living a moment purchased at great personal cost.
During the height of this renewed, raucous party, the source notes that Grushenka, perhaps needing a break from the intensity, gets up and goes to another quieter room.
And Dmitri, his focus always on her, follows her discreetly, leaving the party behind to be with her alone.
This leads to a moment of surprising intimacy and vulnerability, a stark contrast to the public chaos they just left. Dmitri finds Grushenka crying alone in this other room.
The source describes the scene with a tenderness we haven't seen much of from Dmitri tonight. He goes to her, puts his hand gently on her shoulder, looks into her eyes, and embraces her. It's a private moment of connection amidst the public revelry.
And in this intimate setting, Grushenka finally explains the truth about her previous feelings for the Polish officer. She confesses that her attachment wasn't driven by genuine love or current affection.
No. Instead, she says, it was driven by anger and a desire for him to suffer, wanting him to see her happy and desired upon his return. She reveals her disappointment that he had changed so much and wasn't the person she remembered or perhaps fantasized about.
This confession is crucial, isn't it? It shifts our understanding of her motivations throughout this whole episode.
Completely. Her pursuit of the officer wasn't about love for him, but about resolving her own past pain and seeking a form of revenge or closure. It reveals a complex emotional landscape within her, driven by past hurt and a desire for vindication.
And then, the moment Dmitri has desperately sought, she declares her true love for him. The source quotes her directly. "I love you, Dmitri, I love you," she says.
I want to be with you. And echoing his own earlier desperation, but with a reversal of roles, she pleads, whatever happens, don't leave me now.
It's a powerful reversal of their dynamic throughout the night. Earlier, Dmitri was begging her to keep him, to let him be her servant.
And now she is the one expressing deep need, asking him not to leave her side, demonstrating a genuine affection that seems to have solidified in the chaos of the night. The source highlights this as the moment of their acceptance of love, where a declaration has been made mutually.
But even in this moment of apparent connection and happiness, Dimitri's underlying anxiety and the weight of his actions surface. He expresses his fear of future consequences, perhaps unable to fully escape the reality he's tried to outrun.
Yeah, he says, what if I go to jail? What if I have to go to Siberia? The celebration, the declarations, they can't fully erase the shadow of what he's done or what might be coming.
And the source analysis notes that this fear stems partly from a previous violent act he committed, beating Grigori, his father Feanor's servant, severely enough to cause bleeding.
Right, while the source doesn't explicitly state that the direct fear of jail in this exact moment is solely because of the Grigori beating.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the source mentions the beating and the resulting blood on his clothes in connection with his fear of jail Siberia tells us that this past act of violence is weighing heavily on his mind. It's a concrete reason for fearing legal repercussions beyond just the tumult of this night. It shows a pattern of violent behavior leading to the consequences.
And then, in this moment of intimacy and confession, Dimitri reveals the raw truth about how he was able to come to her tonight. He admits to the theft.
Confessing, I stole the 3,000 rubles.
Mm.
He states plainly that he committed theft specifically for the means to be with her this night.
This confession adds another critical layer to his character and the events, doesn't it? His entire presence here, the lavish party, the money he's been throwing around.
It's all built on a foundation of crime. He jeopardized his freedom, his reputation, everything, just to have the possibility of this night, this moment with her. It underscores the depth of his desperation and recklessness in the pursuit of his desires.
Grushenka's reaction to this confession is fascinating, as detailed in the source. She first questions why he would even think of going to jail or Siberia.
Perhaps not fully grasping the implications of his violence or theft initially.
Maybe. And upon hearing about the theft, her immediate response is striking in its practicality and generosity, given the context. She tells him simply, "You didn't need to steal."
Yeah, she kind of minimizes the crime in the face of her feelings for him, almost brushes it aside.
And then she makes an incredible offer, one that changes the entire dynamic of his financial predicament. She offers to pay off his significant debt to Katerina herself.
The source quotes her saying, "You owed Katerina money, right? I will pay it now." It's a complete acceptance of him, flaws and all, and a powerful demonstration of her commitment.
Absolutely. She's willing to use her own considerable wealth. The source notes she had a lot of money to clear his debts.
Effectively buying his freedom from that obligation and solidifying his dependence on her. She states her reason plainly. You are mine, so my money is yours too.
It's a complete merging of their fates, financially and emotionally, at least in this moment.
But this generosity comes with a clear condition. She lays down her terms. Now you won't go to Katerina anymore, she demands.
Right. You won't love that lady anymore, and you won't talk to her.
It's a clear boundary, as the source notes, establishing their relationship and demanding his absolute loyalty to her, severing ties with his past romantic entanglements, particularly the one tied to his financial and emotional obligations. It's a negotiation, even in this tender moment. Her acceptance and support come with a price, his complete fidelity and abandonment of Katerina.
Dimitri, seemingly overwhelmed and happy with her acceptance and the prospect of being free from the Katerina debt, embraces her. They hug each other.
The source emphasizes this is the moment of their acceptance of love, where their declaration has been made. It seems, for a brief, fleeting moment, amidst the chaos of the party raging in the next room, they have found a fragile sense of connection, mutual commitment, and perhaps even hope.
Despite the darkness.
Despite the darkness that surrounds them.
And then, just as this intimate moment of confession and reconciliation is unfolding, the night takes a sudden, shocking, and devastating turn.
Yeah, the other shoe drops. While Dmitri and Grushenka are in their private embrace, lost in their declarations, 4 or 5 people suddenly and unexpectedly enter the room.
They are new faces, strangers, people not seen among the partygoers or guest-high staff before.
And a voice immediately calls out, cutting through the quiet intimacy. Mr. Dmitri.
Grushenka and Dmitri are startled. They break apart from their embrace, looking to see who has interrupted them in this private moment.
The source identifies the new arrivals immediately. They are police officers and a lawyer. The representatives of external order and law have arrived, crashing into the personal chaos.
And then comes the devastating accusation, delivered directly, leaving no room for misinterpretation. The police state the charge starkly.
You are accused of murdering your father, they announce. You have killed your father, they reiterate, cementing the gravity of the charge. You are a killer, you are a murderer. Just boom.
The impact of this accusation, delivered in this moment of supposed safety and connection, is immediate and profound. as described in the source.
Yeah, the source vividly illustrates Dmitri's reaction, stating that the ground feels like it is shaking beneath his feet as he hears these words. His world is collapsing instantly.
And Grushenka, who just moments before was declaring her love and offering to clear his debts, is left utterly shocked, unable to understand what is happening, why these people are here, what this terrible accusation means, just stunned.
And that is where this incredible tumultuous sequence, as detailed in our source material, abruptly ends, leaving both the characters and you, the listener, suspended on this dramatic, terrible cliffhanger.
So what does all of this mean? This single night, as presented in these detailed sources, contain what feels like a lifetime of emotional and physical drama for Dmitry Karamazov.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw him move from frantic despair and suicidal contemplation in the carriage to a grand, reckless arrival fueled by past reputation.
Through moments of volatile anger, deep self-loathing where he felt like a worm, and then surprising emotional vulnerability, including weeping openly like a child.
Yeah, and he navigated a tense party, dealt with accusations of cheating, made a desperate, flawed offer using money he admitted to stealing, physically asserted his dominance by locking away his rivals.
Only to finally find this fragile, apparent mutual acceptance and declaration of love with Grushenka, exchanging confessions and promises.
And it's amidst that moment of connection, vulnerability, and confession, his fears of consequence like jail or Siberia, his admission of theft fueled by desperation, that the ultimate devastating consequence, the accusation of parricide, comes crashing down, interrupting everything.
It truly is a powerful study of an incredibly complex, contradictory character, isn't it?
Oh, immensely. Dmitri is portrayed as volatile, capable of immense generosity and extreme desperation, deeply vulnerable, yet physically powerful, utterly reckless, capable of what seems like deep consuming love.
And now, suddenly accused of the most terrible, unthinkable act imaginable.
This excerpt, analyzed in the source material, leaves us with a profound sense of how quickly personal chaos and the weight of past actions can collide with external reality, bringing devastating consequences right to your doorstep, even in a moment of perceived triumph or connection.
So the provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over is this. Consider the weight of that final accusation that he murdered his father in light of everything you've just learned about Dmitri's state of mind and actions throughout this single tumultuous night.
Yeah, how does his volatile nature, his desperation for Grushenka's love, his confession of theft, his physical capacity for violence demonstrated by handling the bodyguard, and even his moments of profound vulnerability,
Yeah.
how does all that shape your understanding of the charge against him?
Does the night's drama make the accusation seem more plausible, less plausible, or does it simply underscore the deep, confusing contradictions within his character that leave his true actions unclear? That's a question this analysis really forces us to confront.